Have you ever wondered who's truly watching your kids at school?
The rain had stopped just before dawn, leaving a sheen of silver over the small New England town of Brookfield. The playground at Brookfield Elementary lay slick and shining under the early September sun. Teachers were herding students toward their classrooms while parents lingered near their cars, trading waves and quick goodbyes. Detective Ryan Bennett parked his unmarked sedan near the school's brick wall. Beside him, his partner, a German shepherd named Rex, sat alert, amber eyes scanning the movement of children. Ryan had been assigned to visit schools that week as part of a community safety program, but the easy pace of the morning made him loosen his tie and exhale. For once, nothing felt urgent. By mid-afternoon, however, everything changed. Sophia Miller, a lively 9-year-old with a halo of blonde curls, never returned from recess. At first, her absence was a ripple, whispers in the hallway, a teacher's puzzled glance at the empty desk. But when the final bell rang and Sophia still hadn't appeared, panic spread like fire through dry grass. Principal Coleman called the Brookfield Police Department at 3:42 p.m. Ryan, still nearby, was dispatched. He swung open the car door and Rex jumped out, nose already twitching at the scents on the breeze. Parents gathered in clumps outside the school, some clutching umbrellas though the rain had stopped. Sophia's mother, Anna Miller, clung to her husband's arm, her face pale. "She never walks home alone," Anna said, voice breaking. "She always waits for us by the gate." Ryan crouched beside Rex and gave the command, "Search." The dog sniffed the ground, circling near the main entrance before trotting purposefully toward the side lot. That was when Ryan noticed the gray minivan. It was parked at an odd angle near the faculty entrance, its tires spattered with mud as if it had come from an unpaved road. The rear window was fogged and a candy wrapper clung to the bumper. Ryan stepped closer, eyes narrowing. No one in the crowd claimed the vehicle. He jotted the plate number, then peered inside with a flashlight. On the floor behind the driver's seat lay a pink hair ribbon, neatly tied but damp from the drizzle. Anna gasped softly when Ryan showed it to her. "That's Sophia's," she whispered. Ryan closed the door of the van slowly, careful not to disturb the ribbon any further. He snapped a quick photo, then radioed the plate number to dispatch. A reply came back moments later. The van wasn't registered locally. The plates belonged to a vehicle reported scrapped 2 years earlier. Someone had gone to great trouble to keep this car anonymous. He turned to Principal Coleman, who stood wringing his hands by the door. "Who parks here?" Ryan asked. "Mostly faculty," Coleman replied. "But that lot is unlocked. Delivery drivers sometimes use it." Ryan frowned. "Keep everyone inside until we clear the grounds." Rex lowered his head and padded toward the playground, nose sweeping side to side. Ryan followed as the dog led him behind the cafeteria. A patch of soft soil near the fence was disturbed, as though something heavy had been dragged. Tiny shoe prints dotted the mud before fading into the grass beyond. "Good boy," Ryan murmured, rewarding Rex with a quick pat. The shepherd wagged his tail but kept sniffing, tracking an invisible thread toward a cluster of storage sheds. The sheds were locked, but one door hung slightly ajar. Ryan peered inside. Only sports equipment and rakes. No child. Rain clouds gathered again, dimming the late afternoon light. Ryan glanced at his watch. Every minute felt like an hour. Inside the teacher's lounge, he interviewed staff. Most described an ordinary day, lessons, lunch, recess. But when Ryan asked Emily Carter, Sophia's homeroom teacher, her hands trembled as she set down her coffee mug. "She seemed quiet today," Emily said, eyes fixed on the table. "I thought maybe she wasn't feeling well. Did you see her leave after recess?" "No. I was grading papers." Ryan studied her face, pale, strained, as if she were hiding something. He didn't press further yet. He knew fear could make witnesses defensive. By early evening, a fine mist hung over the playground. Officers canvassed nearby streets. Volunteers searched ditches and backyards. Ryan returned to his car, rubbing his temple. Rex rested his chin on the window ledge, watching the darkening sky. Ryan's radio crackled. No sign of the girl on surrounding roads. He stared at the school one last time, before nightfall swallowed it. Somewhere out there a child needed them, and every fading trace made the path colder. The rain turned heavy as night settled over Brookfield Elementary. Ryan adjusted his jacket collar, scanning the misty parking lot while Rex shook droplets from his fur. Flashlights cut thin beams through the darkness as volunteers and uniformed officers combed the grounds. Ryan gathered his small team beneath the eaves of the school. "Listen up," he said over the patter of rain. We split into 3 groups. "Keep your radios open. Check every shed, dumpster, crawl space. I want eyes on every inch before midnight." Rex trotted at Ryan's side as they made their way behind the gymnasium. The shepherd paused near the chain-link fence, nose twitching. He gave a sharp bark, then scratched at a patch of wet grass. Ryan crouched. There, half hidden in the mud, lay a pink plastic hair clip. Tiny teeth marks chewed along its edge as if someone had torn it from the girl's hair. Ryan sealed the clip in an evidence bag. His pulse quickened, but caution held him steady. Whoever had taken Sophia was careful, but mistakes always happened. Inside, Principal Coleman huddled with teachers trying to soothe frantic parents. Ryan returned to question Emily Carter again. She sat alone in the staff room, staring out at the storm. "Ms. Carter," he began gently, "when was the last time you saw Sophia?" Emily swallowed. "At recess. She asked to get her sweater from the classroom. She never came back." "Why didn't you report that right away?" Tears welled in her eyes. I thought she might have gone to the nurse. I didn't want to overreact." Rex sniffed around Emily's chair, tail stiff. Ryan noticed the teacher's shoes. Faint traces of fresh soil clung to the soles, darker than the hallway dust. Before Ryan could press further, a deputy entered. "Detective, we found tire tracks by the service gate, fresh ones. They lead to the back road." Ryan nodded, motioning Rex to follow. Outside, puddles gleamed under lamplight. The tracks curved toward the forested path behind the school. A few hundred feet in, they ended abruptly where the ground turned to slick clay. Rain had begun washing the impressions away. Ryan stood still, letting Rex lead. The dog lowered his head, sniffing the breeze, then looked toward the far tree line with a low whine. Beyond the trees lay an abandoned utility road, the kind few people knew still existed. "Good boy," Ryan whispered. "Show me." They pushed deeper into the dark, the storm soaking through their coats. For a moment, Ryan felt the world closing in. The rain, the trees, the silence where a child's voice should have been. But Rex's steady movements anchored him, a reminder that even the faintest trail could survive the storm. Rex padded ahead, nose almost brushing the soaked earth. Ryan followed a few steps behind, boots squelching in the mud. Lightning flickered across the treetops, illuminating the outline of an old maintenance shed at the edge of the forest. Ryan signaled to the 2 deputies trailing them. "Circle wide, stay quiet." He crouched beside Rex, studying the ground. Broken twigs, a smear of clay, signs someone had passed recently. Inside the shed, faint light flickered through warped wooden slats. Ryan eased closer, pressing against the damp wall. He peered through a crack. Only an overturned chair, a dusty toolbox, and a faint smell of gasoline. No Sophia, but Rex wasn't finished. The shepherd scratched at the far corner, whining. Ryan pushed aside a loose board and discovered a narrow crawl space leading into darkness. A fresh boot print stamped the muddy floor. He radioed his team. "I've got a secondary trail heading northwest, someone left in a hurry." Thunder rolled above as they emerged from the trees into an open field. A dirt lane wound toward the river. Ryan scanned the horizon. Headlights gleamed faintly in the distance, then vanished. "Could be our suspect," he muttered, quickening his pace. Rex barked once, sharp and urgent. They followed the lane until it met the riverbank. Rain hammered the surface, erasing evidence with every drop. Ryan knelt, fingers tracing faint grooves in the sand, drag marks leading from the path to the water. His stomach tightened. "Looks like they carried something heavy," said Deputy Alvarez, voice low. Ryan stared across the rushing current. The far bank was wild and overgrown. If the kidnapper had crossed before the storm deepened, there'd be little chance of tracking them tonight. Rex sniffed furiously at the shoreline, then froze, ears pricked. He gave a deep rumbling growl. Ryan followed his gaze. Half buried under reeds lay a scrap of fabric, pale against the mud. He lifted it carefully. It was a corner of a child's raincoat, torn at the seam. Ryan sealed the cloth in another evidence bag. "We've confirmed the direction," he told his team. "But we need daylight if we're going to search the far side." As they prepared to retreat, lightning split the sky. The storm intensified, wind howling through the trees. Ryan placed a steadying hand on Rex's neck. "Good work tonight, partner," he whispered, though unease coiled in his gut. Whoever had taken Sophia knew these woods and had planned for bad weather. This wasn't a random snatch. They headed back toward the school, rain soaking every step. Ryan glanced over his shoulder at the river, dark, churning, and silent. Somewhere beyond its banks, a frightened little girl waited. By the time Ryan and his team returned to the school grounds, the rain had turned into a relentless downpour. The yellow tape strung around the playground snapped and flapped in the wind. The last cluster of parents huddled under umbrellas near the gym, their faces pale with exhaustion and fear. Ryan guided Rex inside, shaking water from the shepherd's coat before crouching beside him. The dog's dark eyes stayed alert despite the long night. Principal Carter hurried forward, voice trembling. "Did you find anything?" "Not Sophia," Ryan said gently. "But we did recover a piece of her raincoat near the river. That tells us she's still close and alive." He didn't add the rest. That the fabric's tear suggested a struggle. They moved to a small office the school had given over as a command post. Maps were spread across the table, dotted with pins marking search areas. Ryan laid the evidence bag on top. The cloth looked fragile under the harsh fluorescent light. Deputy Alvarez unrolled a fresh map. If they used the old river road, they could have reached the abandoned pumping station on the far side. Ryan traced the route with his finger. "It's isolated and the access road isn't on GPS anymore." He nodded to Rex, who sat beside him, ears pricked as if understanding. "At first light, we'll sweep that area." For a moment, silence settled in the room. Rain hammered the windows. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled again. Ryan looked at the child's photo pinned to the corkboard. Sophia's gap-toothed smile, her neat braids. He felt the familiar weight of responsibility press down on him. He knelt to scratch Rex behind the ears. "You did good tonight, boy. Tomorrow we'll finish this." Rex leaned into his touch, tail thumping once against the floor. Ryan straightened and addressed the team. "Get some rest. We hit the far bank at dawn. Whoever took her knew these woods, but they don't know Rex." Outside, the storm raged on, masking the quiet determination inside the small office. The night wasn't over, but the first clear path toward Sophia had been carved through the darkness. Dawn broke gray and heavy over the valley. Mist clung to the river like a living thing, curling along the banks and swallowing the trees. Ryan stood beside the SUV, tugging his jacket tighter as a sharp wind cut through the damp air. Rex paced in a slow circle at the end of his lead, nose raised, testing the breeze. His ears flicked toward the east where the old pumping station crouched behind a thicket of willows. "Smell anything, boy?" Ryan asked softly. The shepherd's tail gave a single sweep, a sign he'd caught something faint. Deputy Alvarez came up behind them, thermos in hand. "You sure about this place? Looks like it's about to collapse." Ryan studied the derelict brick building. The roof sagged in the middle, and boards hung crookedly across the windows. A rusty chain dangled from the side door. The road to it was hidden by brush. Whoever used it didn't want company. "That fits our guy." They pushed through wet grass and stepped onto the cracked concrete landing. Ryan gave Rex the signal to search. The shepherd lowered his head, weaving across the platform with focused intensity. Then he froze, nose pressed to a dark smear on the step. Ryan crouched. Even in the weak light, the stain stood out against the mossy surface. He touched it with a gloved finger, damp but sticky. "Blood?" Alvarez asked quietly. "Maybe," Ryan replied. He gestured for a sample kit. "Bag it. Let's see where this trail goes." Rex followed the scent to the side door. The dog scratched once, then looked up expectantly. Ryan tried the handle, locked. He motioned Alvarez to stand back and then drove his shoulder into the door. The wood splintered, swinging inward with a groan. Inside, the air was stale, thick with dust and something sour. A narrow hallway stretched ahead, lit only by the glow from the broken door. Ryan clipped a flashlight to his vest and swept the beam over the walls. Scattered papers littered the floor. A child's backpack lay half buried under debris, its zipper broken. Ryan picked it up carefully, his chest tightening when he saw the initials SJ stitched on the strap. "She was here," he said, voice low. Rex's head shot up, hackles rising. A low growl rumbled in his throat. Ryan stiffened, scanning the gloom. "Talk to me, Rex. Where?" The dog lunged toward the far end of the hall, claws scrabbling on concrete. Ryan followed, gun drawn, Alvarez close behind. They reached a stairwell descending into darkness. The stairwell smelled of rust and stagnant water. Ryan swept his flashlight across the cracked steps. At the bottom, a heavy metal door stood ajar, its paint blistered with age. Rex strained against the lead, nose twitching. He gave a sharp bark, the sound echoing up the concrete shaft. "Easy, boy," Ryan murmured. "We'll go slow." They descended, boots crunching on gravel. Alvarez kept her weapon raised, scanning corners as they advanced. The beam of Ryan's flashlight revealed a tunnel beyond the door, its walls lined with old pipes slick with condensation. A faint sound floated toward them. Not quite a voice. More like a muffled whimper. Ryan froze, hand up. "Did you hear that?" Alvarez nodded. "Came from ahead." They crept forward, Rex moving low, ears pricked. The tunnel curved sharply. Around the bend, a single bulb swung from a wire, casting an anemic light over a crude workbench. On it lay an open duffel stuffed with syringes and medical tape. Beside the bench stood a tall figure in a dark hooded jacket. His back was to them as he rummaged through a crate. Ryan's muscles coiled. He signaled Alvarez, "Take the left flank." Then he unclipped Rex's lead, whispering, "Stay." The shepherd crouched, eyes locked on the man. Ryan stepped forward, voice firm but calm. "Police! Turn around slowly and keep your hands where I can see them." The man jerked upright, knocking over the crate. Glass shattered across the floor. He glanced over his shoulder, eyes wide and wild, then he bolted. "Rex, take him," Ryan commanded. The dog sprang, claws scraping concrete as he tore after the fleeing suspect. Ryan followed, Alvarez close behind. Their flashlights darted across slick walls as they raced down the passage. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber where machinery loomed like metal skeletons. The suspect scrambled up a ladder toward a rusted catwalk. Rex leapt, teeth snapping inches from the man's boot. Ryan sprinted to the ladder and climbed after them, heart hammering. At the top, the suspect swung a length of pipe, forcing Ryan to duck. The blow rang off the rail, sparks flying. "Stop! You're only making this worse," Ryan shouted. The man swung again, but Rex lunged, seizing his arm. The impact knocked the suspect off balance. He teetered, then crashed onto the platform, writhing as Rex held firm. Alvarez arrived, training her weapon. "Don't move." Ryan knelt, prying the pipe from the man's grasp. "It's over," he said, breathless. "Where's the child?" The man snarled but said nothing. Ryan noted the faint scent of gasoline clinging to his clothes, matching what witnesses had described near the school gates. Rex growled low, eyes never leaving the captive. Ryan cuffed the suspect, then glanced at Alvarez. "Search the rest of this place. She might still be here." Alvarez hurried toward a narrow corridor branching off the chamber. Ryan steadied Rex, speaking softly to the dog as adrenaline ebbed. "You did good, partner. Stay sharp." Ryan steadied his breathing as Alvarez's footsteps faded down the corridor. The suspect lay pinned beneath Rex's watchful gaze, wrists clamped in steel cuffs. Ryan pressed a knee gently into the man's back and spoke low but firm. "Where is she? Tell me now." The man's jaw tightened. He kept his eyes fixed on the greasy floor, refusing to speak. Ryan recognized the stubbornness of someone who thought silence could buy time. A soft, muffled sound broke the tense stillness. A faint sob carried from beyond the machinery. Ryan's heart leapt. He looked at Rex. The shepherd's ears flicked toward the far corner, nose working the air. "Find her," Ryan whispered. Rex trotted ahead, weaving between pillars of corroded pipes. Ryan followed, scanning shadows cast by their flashlights. They reached a half-hidden storage alcove, blocked by a toppled cabinet. Behind it, a plywood door sagged on broken hinges. Ryan shoved the cabinet aside. Alvarez reappeared, weapon raised. "I heard crying," she said, eyes sharp. Ryan nodded. He pushed open the door. A small windowless room lay beyond, dimly lit by a single emergency lamp. In the center, curled up on a thin mattress, was Sophia. Her cheeks were streaked with tears, but she was alive. "Sophia," Ryan said gently, kneeling. "It's okay. We're the police, and you're safe now." The little girl flinched, then focused on Rex. The shepherd crouched low, tail wagging cautiously. He let out a soft whine, inviting her closer. Sophia blinked, hesitant, then crawled forward and buried her face in Rex's neck. The dog stood perfectly still, a living shield between her and the shadows. Alvarez swept the room, confirming there were no other threats. She lowered her weapon and exhaled. "She's clear." Ryan scooped the child into his arms. She clung to his jacket, trembling but breathing steadily. "Let's get her out," he said. Back in the main chamber, uniformed officers were already flooding in, alerted by Ryan's radio call. 2 medics rushed forward to check Sophia. She refused to let go of Rex's fur until Ryan promised the dog would stay right beside her. As they led her toward daylight filtering down the stairwell, Ryan glanced over his shoulder at the suspect still lying on the floor. The man's face had drained of color. Whatever confidence he'd carried into the chase had vanished. Ryan tightened his hold on Sophia and looked at Rex. "Good work, partner," he murmured. The shepherd gave a single, quiet bark, the sound of a job done but not finished. There were still questions. Who the suspect worked for, how long the network had been operating, and whether more children were in danger. But for now, Sophia was safe. Outside, sunlight slanted across the lot behind the old pumping station. Reporters shouted from beyond the cordon, but Ryan focused on the child resting against his shoulder and the steadfast dog at his side. One life had been brought back from darkness, and that was enough for this moment. The afternoon sun dipped low behind the pumping station as Ryan watched the last patrol car pull away with the suspect in custody. Sophia, now wrapped in a soft blanket, sat quietly in the back of an ambulance with a medic checking her vitals. Rex stayed nearby, nose resting on the bumper, amber eyes fixed on her. Ryan felt exhaustion tug at the edges of his focus, but adrenaline kept him steady. The case was far from over. Alvarez joined him holding a clear evidence bag. Inside were the items recovered from the workbench: syringes, a burner phone, and a folded map. "This was hidden under the duffel," she said, tapping the map. "Look, 2 spots marked with a red X. One's the pumping station. The other is somewhere out by the freight yards." Ryan frowned. "That can't be coincidence." He took the map, tracing the route with his finger. The second X sat near an abandoned warehouse complex by the river, a place the department had raided years ago during a trafficking investigation. Alvarez lowered her voice. "We might be looking at a larger operation." Ryan glanced toward Sophia, who was sipping water from a paper cup. If they targeted her, there could be more kids. They approached the child carefully. Ryan crouched, softening his tone. "Sophia, sweetheart, you did so well today. Can you tell me if you saw anyone else down there? Maybe other children?" Sophia shook her head slowly. "No. Just the man and boxes," she frowned, searching for words. "Wooden boxes with locks." Ryan exchanged a look with Alvarez. "Crates for smuggling," he thought grimly. He stood, decision forming fast. "We need a warrant for that warehouse tonight." Floodlights cast a cold glare over the freight yards as Ryan adjusted the tactical vest across his shoulders. The night air smelled of oil and river water, heavy with the hum of distant machinery. Alvarez double-checked the magazine in her sidearm, then gave him a nod. Rex sat at Ryan's heel, ears pricked, tail still. Even in the clamor of the staging area, the dog's focus never wavered. "Teams Alpha and Bravo take the south and west entrances," Ryan ordered quietly. "No lights until we're inside. Keep comms tight." They moved out, boots crunching over gravel. The warehouse loomed ahead, a massive structure of corrugated steel and broken windows. A chain-link fence surrounded it, half hidden by wild vines. One gate hung crooked, just wide enough for a truck. Ryan crouched near the fence, scanning the shadows. A faint rumble came from somewhere inside. Not machinery, more like the echo of voices. He gestured to Alvarez, and they slipped through the gap. Rex padded between them, nose to the ground. The shepherd halted suddenly, muscles taut, then looked back at Ryan, signaling assent. "Got something?" Ryan whispered. Rex sniffed again and angled toward a side door. Alvarez knelt, picking the old padlock with a practiced touch until it popped free. Ryan eased the door open, revealing a narrow corridor lit by a single bulb. The smell hit first, a mix of disinfectant and damp wood. Crates lined the hallway, stenciled with fake company names. Each bore a small ventilation slot near the top. Ryan's jaw tightened. He motioned the others forward. They advanced, careful, until muffled footsteps echoed from deeper inside. Ryan pressed against the wall, signaling for silence. Through a crack between crates, he saw 2 men unloading something from a truck, backed up to an inner loading bay. "Last batch before sunrise," one man muttered. Ryan's pulse quickened. "Last batch?" He keyed his mic. "Alpha, hold positions. We have suspects with a vehicle inside. Stand by." Rex gave a quiet whine, low and urgent. His body pointed toward a stack of crates at the far end of the bay. Ryan strained to listen. Beneath the men's voices, he could just make out a faint, frightened sob. Children. Ryan met Alvarez's eyes. No words were needed. He raised 3 fingers, counting down. At 0, they surged forward. Police! Hands up! Ryan's shout cut through the cavernous space. Chaos erupted. One suspect bolted toward the truck. The other swung a crowbar. Alvarez blocked the swing, twisting the weapon from his grasp. Rex lunged for the runner, clamping onto his sleeve and dragging him to the floor. Ryan vaulted over a crate, tackling the second man. They struggled, knocking over boxes. The sound of crying grew clearer as Ryan forced the man onto his stomach and snapped cuffs around his wrists. Alvarez secured the first suspect while Ryan hurried to the far stack of crates. He pried open the top of one. Inside, huddled together, were 3 small children, eyes wide with terror. You're safe now, Ryan said gently. We're getting you out. He turned to Rex, who stood guard, chest heaving, gaze sharp and steady. Good boy, Ryan whispered. Ryan moved carefully among the crates, making sure each child was awake and responsive. One little girl, no older than 6, clung to a worn teddy bear, trembling. He knelt, speaking softly. It's okay, you're safe. My name's Ryan, and this is Rex. We're here to take you home. Rex stayed close, tail wagging gently, letting the children see he meant no harm. Slowly, the kids relaxed, some crawling into Ryan's arms, others holding his hands as they were guided toward the exit. Alvarez secured the last suspect and radioed for backup. Uniformed officers swarmed in, covering the warehouse floor and ensuring no one escaped. Ryan wiped a layer of sweat and grime from his brow, surveying the operation. Boxes that had contained dangerous contraband were opened, each yielding more evidence: forged documents, fake IDs, and personal belongings of the abducted children. Rex sniffed along the floor, nostrils flaring. One crate held small blood-stained cloths, confirming the abuse and danger the children had endured. Ryan noted each item carefully, directing Alvarez to photograph and bag the evidence. By now, news crews had started to arrive, but Ryan kept the children shielded behind a line of officers. Each one was safe, none injured, though the terror in their eyes told a story of weeks or months of fear. As the last child was escorted out, Ryan allowed himself a deep exhale. He patted Rex's head. Good work, partner. Couldn't have done it without you. Alvarez approached, holding a clipboard of collected evidence. This will put the network away for good. The trafficking ring's days are over. Ryan looked out the warehouse doors toward the approaching daylight. The freight yard was now alive with police, medics, and investigators. Despite the chaos, there was a profound sense of relief. A mission completed. A life saved. Sophia's mother and father were escorted by detectives, running toward their daughter with tears streaming down their faces. The reunion was brief but powerful, each hug a testament to survival. Ryan allowed a small smile. He looked down at Rex, who nudged his hand for a scratch behind the ears. The dog had not only tracked scents but had saved lives. Today, Rex had been more than a canine partner. He had been a hero. As the team processed the evidence and secured the scene, Ryan knew the work was far from over. The investigation would take months. Interrogations, court proceedings, and tracking any remaining associates. But for now, the immediate threat was neutralized. For the children, for Sophia, and for everyone who had feared the unknown, justice had prevailed. Weeks had passed since the dramatic raid at the freight yards. Ryan stood in the precinct's strategy room, maps, photos, and intelligence reports spread across the table. Rex lay at his feet, alert but calm, eyes following every movement. Every thread we've pulled leads back to a single organizer, Ryan said, tapping a photo of a suited man in his 40s. Standing in front of a warehouse in another city. He's the one coordinating these abductions, moving children through forged identities and laundering money overseas. Alvarez looked up from her laptop. We have financial trails, travel records, and witness testimonies linking him to at least 5 previous cases. But he's careful, never seen in person by any of the children. Ryan rubbed his chin, deep in thought. We need a plan that isolates him. No street chase, no risk to more kids. Rex will be crucial. He can track scents across city limits and detect hidden entrances. The plan formed quickly. Under cover of night, Ryan, Alvarez, and a tactical team would approach a secluded warehouse in the industrial district, where the mastermind was rumored to be hiding. Surveillance footage indicated a constant flow of vans, suggesting ongoing activity. Rex, fitted with his harness, wagged his tail once, eager to begin. Ryan crouched beside him. "This is it, partner. Time to finish what we started." The warehouse loomed like a shadow against the darkened skyline. A chain-link fence surrounded it, topped with barbed wire. Ryan signaled the team to spread out. Using night vision goggles and silenced communications, they approached the perimeter. Rex led the advance, nose twitching as he detected faint traces of the mastermind's scent. They moved silently through the weeds, avoiding security cameras. One wrong move could blow the operation. Inside, the warehouse was dimly lit, crates stacked floor to ceiling. The faint hum of electricity filled the air. Ryan paused beside a stack of pallets, signaling the team. The mastermind's voice echoed faintly from an office above. Rex nosed a narrow gap in the crates, then froze. Ryan knew the dog had picked up a critical scent, the trail leading directly to hidden rooms below the office. A set of stairs led to a concealed basement. Ryan whispered, "Good boy. Lead the way." Descending carefully, they discovered a network of small rooms. Each contained evidence: passports, boarding passes, and photographs of missing children. One room held a cage with frightened children, but they were unharmed. Ryan motioned Alvarez to secure the room while he signaled the tactical team to prepare for confrontation. The mastermind stepped from the shadows, hands raised slightly, feigning calm. "I suppose you found my little operation," he sneered. Ryan didn't flinch. "It's over. You're done. The kids are safe and there's no way out." The man attempted to flee toward a hidden elevator, but Rex lunged, barking fiercely. The dog's precision and speed allowed Ryan to intercept and grab the suspect. Alvarez cuffed him quickly as the rest of the tactical team secured the warehouse. Ryan looked around at the children, now reunited with officers. Relief and gratitude shone in their eyes. Rex sat nearby, tail wagging slightly, proud yet composed. "Partner," Ryan said, kneeling to scratch Rex behind the ears. "You did more than track scents tonight. You saved lives." As the sun began to rise over the city, Ryan knew that while this case had reached closure, the work of protecting the innocent was never truly done. But today, justice had been delivered, and the mastermind of the child trafficking ring would face the law. Weeks later, the city had begun to return to a semblance of normalcy. Sunlight glimmered off the newly polished streets, and the schoolyards were once again filled with laughter, a sound Ryan hadn't realized he'd missed so deeply. Ryan stood at the precinct's front steps, watching families reunite. Sophia clung to her mother's hand, her eyes lighting up when she spotted him and Rex waiting nearby. Rex's tail wagged slowly as if sensing the calm after the storm, his ears flicking at every joyful cry. Alvarez approached, holding a folder of closing reports. "All charges have been filed. The mastermind is in custody, and the network's entire chain is being dismantled. No child left behind." Ryan nodded, eyes never leaving Sophia, who now hugged Rex tightly, laughing. "We did it, boy," he murmured, scratching the shepherd's ears. "We brought them home." Parents and children passed by, offering quiet thanks. Ryan knew the road to healing would be long for many, but today marked a turning point. Families had hope restored, lives rescued, and justice served. As the sun set, Ryan looked down at Rex. "You've earned a long rest, partner, but I know you'll always be ready when the next call comes." Rex leaned into his hand, calm and steady, a silent hero in every sense. And while the city slept, secure in the knowledge that courage and loyalty had prevailed, Ryan knew one truth above all. With partners like Rex, no darkness was too deep, no shadow too long, to keep the innocent from the light. The chapter of terror had closed, but the bond between man and dog, protector and innocent, would endure forever.
Thank you for watching and listening, and for joining our team on this journey. If you enjoyed this story and found it meaningful, please share your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel to follow the next episodes.